Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I can't remember what day it is anymore. I am Faith Suggs, Duke Women's Basketball graduate, and this is my wonderful father, Shafer Suggs,
Good morning.
former NFL player, and I am his wonderful daughter, father of two kids, and he is my wonderful, outstanding dad, super dad. We are happy to join you guys again this Wednesday with some fun topics. We hope everyone enjoyed the rerun we had on Monday. We're going to look to do that more often because a lot of you haven't checked into most of the show. So it'll be really exciting to share previous content with you guys. So keep reaching out. I know that was some requests from other viewers. Dad, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Lots happening, Faith. We talked right before the show about what's going on with sports, the possibility of hockey, the possibility of the NBA, the possibility of NFL. And we got some news possibly when Devin's going to go back to school. So this virus is definitely impacting. A lot of people are getting antsy, from a social standpoint. People are getting impatient, ready to open up, and just getting visibility to it. So how's it doing out there? How's it going out there? Are you opening it up? What's going on out there?
It's funny, the more west you get, the more people are starting to open up and
Right.
they're going to the restaurants. I'm not 100% sold on that idea just yet, so I'll wait for a while. Obviously, because we know a second wave will come around fall. So I'd rather, stay inside until then. No news on work. We're still working from home.
Okay.
And see the boys, it just depends on where the school is in the country. So yeah, it's really to take it day by day. Staying inside, playing games, started Monopoly, had to YouTube how to play Monopoly.
I know it's a different time. It's a different time. This weekend we got something that's going to happen that's very different is Devin's graduation. It's
Right.
going to be very, very different. He gets a chance to wear his cap and gown and walk across stage. It's going to be an outdoor stage, and we all have tickets in our cars, and we'll drive by. He gets out, go get his diploma, and come back out. But at least there'll be a ceremony. I think the Olympic School District has done a phenomenal job of at least acknowledging the kids. So we're excited about that. Of course, you saw his pictures of his innovative prom that he had last weekend. So I think making the most of it. He was able to get pictures dressed up in his tux, his beautiful girlfriend. It was really neat. I know that you saw a lot of pictures too.
He looked very nice. You guys took him at the golf course.
Right.
And it's so great that these kids are getting those experiences regardless of, and we talked about this in our last live show. It's just getting the experience to be able to make your own memories regardless of
Right.
what the memories are or how they end up going. But at the end of the day, he has those pictures to remember. So it's magic and we like it. I'm glad you were able to be part of it.
Right.
So what's the weather? It stopped raining in Chicago or no? We're still raining.
That's beautiful. Last 2 days have been really, really nice.
Nice, nice. Well,
It's getting a little warm, so people are getting antsy, but it's a beautiful day. Right?
hopefully stay inside or keep social distancing to a safe place. You never really understand how important those masks are until you kind of
Right?
feel like you don't have yours on, and then you're like, wow, I really wish I had my mask. So today we're excited to bring up a topic that I pulled from a documentary I watched on Netflix and I had you watch, which was Becoming, which was a documentary on Michelle Obama's book. Very exciting. I love the documentary. What did you think of the documentary?
It was wonderful. It was powerful. There's so much that resonated, and the piece that you brought attention to for me was the importance of the dinner table and how our lives as kids are formulated by what we experience at the dinner table. And but it was just a powerful documentary, and I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Actually, I watched it twice.
Well, it was great. It was great to remember that time period and the amount of hope that was going on in our country, and then the positive that a lot of people were feeling. It just was a good feeling in a way because you
Right.
kind of see the country move in a direction that we have never seen it move before.
Right.
Um, and it was amazing to reflect because you forget how long ago that was. It seems like it was just yesterday. Crazy that the time has gone by that fast, and we're completely into it and looking for another presidency. It's insane how fast life works.
Right, right, right. But it was
But
good. I'm glad you shared it with me. Because, because when you asked me about the topic, I said, okay, there's so much that we can deep dive into when you ask me about the topic. Because my experience with down table, back in the
well,
early '60s, right?
yeah, so let's dive into a little more. So the topic today is on Michelle Obama touched on something that was really amazing was Michelle Obama graduated from Princeton and then moved on to Harvard Law, and her brother Craig also played basketball at Princeton, and he's a pretty renowned coach and other things today. And the funny thing is we were talking about her family and how hard her father worked and how her mom always made it seem like a great home. And I just couldn't help but touch on this thing I wish she dove into more was how they always sat down for family dinner. And for something for me, I was like, that is so small because for me, we did that all the time.
Right,
But
right.
for some people that I have learned and been more around, is that was not a normal thing. Like sometimes parents wouldn't be home for dinner, or sometimes that was just something they never did in their childhood, so they never brought it into their own home. But for me, it was so interesting because it was like that's something we always did. And I never really thought much into it because I thought that that was just normal. Was that something you did when you were growing up? Like, how did you
Well,
um,
it it was the norm because socioeconomically, we were not poor, but we were not, so eating out. I mean, going to McDonald's was a treat.
hmm
Going to KFC was a treat. So most of our meals were sit down dinners with Grandma Dorothy. Man, we sit around and it wasn't too many choices about what you ate. And each day represented a different food.
right,
I mean, that Wednesday, the lima beans, that was the day that I regretted all day long. But we sit down and 709 South Ninth Street in Elkhart, Indiana, was there's a lot of memorable moments. You got to remember, Faith, there was four of us. We had
hmm
a very small kitchen, so we were very close, and we got a chance to really. I mean, it was a way of life back then where we
right,
lived. There was no issue about connecting, right?
hmm
You visualize the interaction between your mom and dad, talking about work, you know, you, the kids, I mean, to myself, I was the oldest, but all the way down to Mike, who just would love to talk, and there was no really guidelines, but it was that special time that
right,
that we had. And just there was I can envision the phone, the lime green phone up against the wall, right? That
uh-huh.
would ring and we would let it ring, right? When no one answered the phone, there was no PDAs or cell phones, there was no TV close by. It was just very different. So my life is obviously from then to now to the 2020, it was very, very different.
Well, yeah, and the one thing that we'll touch on later, but especially right now, that while we were talking about it yesterday, made me think: how many TVs did you have in the home during that time period, and what was the average TV in the home in the American family at that time?
Well, let's talk about the black and white TV, okay? It was a big deal, man. We had a black and white TV, those big, huge TV. And I do remember having that one for the longest period of my life. I mean, I didn't think, when I would go to school after the Wizard of Oz and all the kids say, "What, did you see the beauty and the color of the Wizard of Oz?" I said, "Wait, no, the Wizard of Oz wasn't in color, right? We got color TV." But I remember we got our first color TV, and it was in the next room. So the question is one TV, right?
One TV, and it was always off during dinner.
Always off.
And after dinner, was there a time where you guys spent together that where you watched? Like, what were those memories like?
Well, so during the course of the year, it was homework, right? We were a very active family, so it was either homework or we all were in some kind of scout, Girl Scout, Boy Scout. So normally there was the homework, and then we would go to our scout meeting. And what was kind of neat was both mom and dad were den leaders or den fathers, and a lot of times we would have those meetings at our house, and we got a chance to look forward to that. The sports were different. The sports happened right after school, and then you came home. It wasn't going to eat dinner, hurry up and eat dinner, hurry up, rush, not have an opportunity to really kind of talk about the day. But it was very different. And then go to a sporting event, it wasn't like that. You know,
Right.
so we had a lot to talk about when we got home. We talked about practice. We talked about our classes. It was just as I am talking about this, I'm just well, God, it was just really very, very, very different than it is today, right?
Right. Well, the one thing we really wanted to dive into, and that kind of touched my heart a little bit and opened my eyes, because you never know that you're going through something amazing, some experience until you're through it and you're looking back at it. And the power of the dinner table has really like formed a place of reconnection for the family, right? And you touched on that a little bit in your what you were talking about, but it's a place where the kids can see their family reconnect.
Hmm.
And it's a great feeling after a day of being completely disconnected. You don't see each other at school. I know Devin and I were only in school for 1 year, and he was there half the day because he was in kindergarten. We never, ever, ever were in school again together. So when I would see Devin, it was either early in the morning, but most of the time I left before I saw him. So the first time I saw Devin was when I got home from school or when we were at the dinner table. And I would only really see you because you sometimes drove me to school because you were up. You were the early bird all the time. So it was bound to happen. Like that was the one place where I was able to actually see your faces and like hear your voices, and there was a place of like reconnecting after a day of just here. And now we're here at the dinner table, and it was great. I mean, how did you feel about that as a parent, like seeing us and be able to sit down with us after a long day? And normally especially when you were working.
Well, it was. Look, I had different times in my life. While mommy was around, because there was times where I traveled a lot, right?
Hmm.
So I was actually out of town. But then there was times where I was home. I was working from home. So the times I was working from home, this was like what I was looking forward to. Everybody back home. I was able to help out with the food a little bit. And it was just really, a really good time to connect. And then, as you got older, we start layering on the activities, dance force, whether it's ballet, whether it's t-ball, you know. Uh, but I do remember we always still had that time where I mean, they may not be big dinners, but we sit around that island and we had dinner, and it was just really um, a special time in our lives.
Right. Right. And it wasn't only just us, it was also watching you guys connect as parents. Because at the time, I mean, you both were, I remember the time when you guys were working. And so that was also time for you guys to reconnect. At a time, I mean, it's hard to have date night. It's hard to like have time for each other, especially as married couples and who have kids and two kids who demand a lot of attention, aka Devin. So and it's good for us as kids to see it because it's understanding there's love in the room. It's
Right,
having a view of what love is supposed to be, what marriage is supposed to be like, and we didn't even know we were witnessing it, but we
right.
were learning everything that we take on to our adult lives in those meals. You know what
Right.
I mean? I mean,
Did you
how was
did you sense that though when you were so at what time in your life, at what age in your life do you go, wow, this is what it's supposed to be like, right? I mean,
Mhm.
did you sense that? When did you figure that out?
No, no, no. That's just one of those things that as you face it older and older, and you like come to a point where like you have to make your decisions and you have to reflect on, okay, well, how did my parents do it? Or how were they during that time period? And you just kind of learn. It's one of those things you watch and learn. And it was, I don't know, it was special, but in the moment, you obviously don't realize what's going on
Right,
at all. No, you don't realize it at all now that I reflect on it. It's just something that kind of, you don't even know you learned anything until, you're doing something. You're like, where did I learn that from? And then you're like, wow, probably from that moment, or probably from this moment, or probably because my parents did this all the time. That's
right.
one of the things,
Chris, let me
especially.
ask you, did you feel like it was a time where you were able to be heard? So was that time time where you guys were being heard? Um,
Yeah, 100%. So I guess, yeah, so we can transition a little bit into that, which is the place of expression.
okay.
Um, so like the dinner table was a place where like we were able to express like what we did that day, what our friends did that day, what we learned that day, because those were questions we were constantly asked by you guys that allowed us to speak. And we didn't even realize the importance of it. And I'm sure you really didn't really, but it was a place for kids to express themselves. And for us, it was so key because we were able to kind of tell you what our plans were for our lives without even knowing we were talking about it.
Right.
Like, how many times did you ask us what we learned today? And both of us were like, ugh, we don't know. You know, like parents get that time, we don't know what we learned. And then somehow you draw out of, well, so and so did this today. And then sometimes it really is. We do have something to say. So it is a place of expression. I think that's so important in a kid's life. For you guys to hear what we're planning, but also for us to kind of speak it out into existence, even believe what we're saying. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
did you have plans as a parent at the dinner table for this, or do you understand the weight of how important that place is of healthy space is on a child's development?
Right, right. Well, let me share something with you because going back, you know, my visibility and my experience at the dinner table when I was watching my mom and dad was good. Um, I mean, as I look back on it, I'm going to be really honest that there were some times where there was some friction. There's some things that as I got older and I began to navigate through my family, I said, "Okay, I want to do this differently, right?" And that was the ability to be able to be expressive, for all of us. Um, you know, and then I watched my mom. My mom was Miss Positivity, right? She was always encouraging. She was always that person. My question to you is, you kind of formulate uh, your parents as your role models, right? What can you share with the audience about what you saw in mom that really resonated for you as you look back on your life and become the young lady that you are?
Right. I think that that goes back to us observing as kids, where observing you guys especially, and being able to observe your conversations, because it wasn't like you guys in tuned us to every conversation you had. It was like you had your own conversations, and that was healthy for us to witness how you guys navigated and debated your own daily things and stuff you saw in the news. But her especially, because she was so she was in a prestige place in her career. She was executive director, so she was the boss of a lot of people as a woman. And at the time, that was very hard to do. It's hard now. So I was able to kind of witness her express her complaints or express her concerns on things that she had dealt with as being a woman leader. And for me, I learned a lot about, how are you supposed to present to a conference room or to the board, or stuff like that. That was a lot of the conversation that surrounded us. And she was able to tell you, like, this is how I feel. And it was fun because I also learned a lot about you, because you're such an activator as a parent, that you always wanted her to go, go, go. No, seize the opportunity. You should be and she was not that person. She was more reserved, who was like, I have a plan. Let me do my plan. It was kind of those things. So I was able to navigate like a healthy, like, one relationship, but how she was able to, deal with a lot of her issues within the workplace as a woman, which was a great thing to learn as a kid, because I really didn't think I was sucking it up like a sponge, but I was.
Were, yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm older and I'm an adult and I'm in these rooms and I'm around people and I'm a woman in the workplace, I see a lot of like situations where, okay, I understand what she was talking about now. So no, that was 100% great, and I hope, yeah. But one of the main things was watching how she navigated you within her relationship as
Right,
someone who was the boss in her field, but also came home and she was kind of like the boss of the home, but like in a respectful way. Where and she also kind of showed me how to navigate how to be a woman and
right,
how to be a wife and how and all those type of things. She navigated so well in a very classy way. So
right, right.
that was definitely a blessing to have that resource in front of us every day at dinner.
Right. Right.
Another thing while I was talking, I was thinking was she didn't cook every day. So we also witnessed you guys kind of balance that responsibility that is normally a very like normalized female role in the idea of society sometimes. But now as we were growing older, you often would cook sometimes. You came home earlier. She would cook sometimes. Or sometimes we would just have McDonald's. It was but we
Right.
sat down and we always ate together. We still do that now. If we get fast food, we eat together. Um, but that was the one thing we witnessed too, is watching you guys kind of how you handled those gender norms and then who did what for the family and
Right.
stuff like that. So that kind of also changed maybe our development a lot. I mean, did Grandma Dorothy always cook?
Well, see, that was kind of what I tried to touch on. It was, it was more of a male dominated environment back then. It was just a
Right.
norm that, honey, you need to have the food on the table, right? I mean, I very, very rarely saw my dad cook, other than when
Yeah.
my mom worked at night sometimes. But it was very, very different, and that was some of the things as I grew and matured into a relationship, and learning how to be a husband and a father and partner. That I understand it was a partnership, right?
Yeah.
And when we first met, your mom used to say, well, you hooked and cooked me, because when we met, I used to make her dinner all the time, right? And then all of a sudden, we kind of reversed the role where she was cooking a lot because, she felt more comfortable with it. But it was something that we both felt comfortable with doing, right?
Because you can't cook. That is why it happened because you were the one who made us TV Salisbury steak dinner
Come on, I could cook.
in the in a skillet with homemade gravy that you made. I remember this meal to this day, and like, oh my goodness, ugh. But I guess we tried. But I guess also one thing is we can dive into is how does the that space change when we lost mom? Like how did the dinner table change? What how did the dynamics? How did you try to make up for both sides of the table? Like how did that change for you especially?
That was hard for me initially, because I
Mhm.
was trying to figure out so much other stuff,
Right.
with just dealing with, how different our lives was going to be and what it was. It was just very, very different. Um, because not only was, I, the, father, but, as far as I never assumed the role of mom, but, you had to cook. I
Mm-hmm.
remember sometimes you kind of stepping up a little bit, but we still figured out a way to maintain it, because what happened as you got older, when we lost her, you were 13, 14 years old. So we would go to practice at 8 o'clock.
Right.
The practice was later. So
Mhm.
we always figured out a way to have supper, early on. And then you were able to go do your homework. I was able to go hang out in the yard with Devin, play, try to find that balance. And then when
Right.
it was time to go, all of us, because we all three went to your practices.
Right.
So I think we adapted pretty well, but it initially I was clueless.
And it's understandable. I think, but for Devin and I think that we didn't even notice the transition. But I think that the space of the dinner table and the importance of it grew for each of us
Yeah,
individually. It held a new weight for us, and it is now a space for us to reconnect because that reconnection was needed. And I think that that's one of the things that kind of was so great because you didn't realize, like, while we were growing up, is we needed you guys to help. But I think that as the older we got, the dinner table was kind of a place because honestly, you were home you weren't, I don't think you were working. And so you were kind of like doing your Shafer stuff where you were like moving throughout the day, running errands, stuff like that. So, but you were alone throughout the day, minus your 7 coffee Starbucks meetings in the mornings. But so when we came home, it was kind of like we were giving you a space for you to reconnect with us and kind of be part of our lives. And now that I look back and I can see how that like unfolded and why it was so important at the time, especially for you, um, let alone us. So
right.
no, that was really. I'm glad that we touched on that.
I
So
want to
one,
say hello to my friend Rex Schreiber, college teammate. Hey Rex, really appreciate you tuning in. So nice. He was a quarterback, really good quarterback. I think he had someone go to Duke. I'm trying to remember. Rex, you may want to validate that. But, I also look forward to, because you remember, I had a whole day to prepare for practices, right? Not only prepare for practices, but prepare for the dinner. So I had I was blessed with the ability to be able to do that. But when you guys came home, it was like something I looked forward to, right? Getting food, going over practice plans, all that stuff. So I began to transcend very well.
Right. Well, let's touch on one thing it's fun is traditions made over the dinner table. Whether it's you always start with your prayer, we have the same prayer. Devin and I said the same prayer. It
Right,
was one line, but it was like we both read and said it, and then whoever could say it the fastest, or sometimes whoever said it the best. But we always said our prayer before, and whoever said it first. And then when you would say your prayer, it was always 20 minutes long. So Devin and I was always looking at each other. It was there's something like that, just memories. But also, you want to touch on your tradition that you made even back
so
our house in Homer Glen.
so you remember Uncle Mike saying his prayer very long. I wasn't very long. I was, but we always had tradition. I would take my hat, and in all the houses that we lived in, there was always the railing to go upstairs with the little ball, and I would take my hat and I would try to hang it over that little ball. And I don't think over 20 years, I don't think I ever got it on there, right? Twice, probably. Devin would get up from the table and go rebound it and put it on there, but that was always that tradition. It was like what started our meal. So,
Right. It was almost our form of competition. We always, and it's funny how that worked. But it was like something that before we start the dinner, after we turn the TV off, after everything, food's on the table and all that stuff, we had to set the table. We were like, wait. And you would try to toss your hat and you would miss, and then Devin would run over and put it back on. He's like, all right, now we can pray. And
right,
that was something we always did. So I always think it's amazing because that's one of those traditions that I can see like Devin trying to do when he's older and stuff like that. Or even if we sit down now, we won't do it every time, but like it'll somehow dawn on us and we're like, wait. But we don't have anything, throw it on now. But you find something to throw it.
right.
Traditions kind of go with you wherever you go, and you kind of make the most of them. And I think that's what's so special about having sitting down and being able to eat together and to have that time, which was like
Right.
45 minutes of our day. But it was special for sure. So but let's dive into a little bit about the expression because while we made these traditions and while I observed a lot, one thing that as I was thinking about this topic was as kids, we spend all day, and adults too, in loud classrooms with only one teacher, right? So we'd have 20 other peers, and we're all constantly fighting for attention to be heard, right? We're raising your hand, or you guys are in meetings, especially for mom, she was in meetings with mostly men. So we always had to fight for attention. And so when you come home, the dinner table serves as such a great place
Right.
for people to just be able to speak and be heard and get that one-on-one attention that parents can provide. So I think that one thing is something that probably impacted our lives, especially just being able to be heard by someone and knowing that somebody cares for what we're saying. And that 100% can impact a lot of things in our future. You know, how we treat other people, how we act when we aren't being heard. I mean, obviously we'll be a lot more calmer because we still have time to go be heard. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I can go home and speak to my family and they'll hear me. So if I'm in a classroom and I don't get called, or if I'm in a classroom and someone cuts me off, I'm probably okay with it because I know that I'll have time to talk about it later.
Right.
That thought whenever, if sometimes I used to write down my thoughts to make sure I brought them home so I could say them at the dinner table so I could tell you guys, well, this is what I learned today. And then you would dive into it because that was something that you love to learn about too. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember those times? Like
Right.
sharing experiences of when you were younger about like history and stuff like that, shared stories.
Yeah. When you said that, I remember it was also an opportunity for us to talk about our family. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about our extended family, your grandmother, your uncles. You heard a lot of my stories, but also mommy's family too. So you
Right.
got a chance to learn about history of our family and who we were. We had a very unique family. We had a biracial family. So there was a lot of conversations around that. So you guys got a chance to really um, hear and learn a lot about who we are and why you are who you are. And Mommy was, obviously just kind of took it all in too, but it was just so many really wonderful conversations that were taking place at that dinner table that I think really helped formulate both of you as you kind of venture into our world. How many kids get a chance to grow up with that kind of visibility, right?
Mhm.
With the world the way it is right now, being able to transcend and being able to have the openness, that you had visibility of that. You two beautiful worlds, and there was a lot of conversations around that. A lot of conversations around that, and then you guys would never wondered who you were because mom and dad always talked about who you were. Right? It was like there was never a complicated topic, and those are other things that we were able to share as a family. Mommy and daddy, Faith and Devin, that I think really kind of impact who you are today.
Yeah. Well, what was it like witnessing us grow through this process? What was it like watching each day? Did you notice us growing? Because as I was getting older, and when I was in college and I was a psychology major, I was able to see it kind of through Devin. So when you're in these spaces, did you notice like the changes we were making, or how we were speaking, and especially when we were younger? What was that like watching us grow into like little humans?
It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, and it's even more amazing for me to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Through your videos, through your films. I have almost every video of you guys in every aspect of your life. But it was amazing. It was just even your eighth grade, your ninth grade year. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for you to become a young, opinionated, mature, woman. I wasn't, I was that, okay, I'm going to be her dad for life. Okay, I'm going to protect her for life. So that was a transition that I had to make. And I'm doing it with Devin right now, is allowing him to be a young man. So I have the opportunity right now, the time that I have, to go back and
Right.
watch when you were in fourth, fifth, sixth grade. Cause I have those. I go back a lot. I go back because my life has been so. I have so many wonderful memories and so many blessings. So I'm appreciative of the fact that you guys were able to grow and me watching, me be such a big part of it. The challenge for me is letting go, and allowing you to create your own path, and letting go and letting God, right?
Right.
So it is a wonderful experience as a parent to watch that. In some
Mhm.
in some circumstances, it could be a little challenging because you are my world,
Yeah.
Devin. You're my world, and watch you go from his voice being a little squeaky voice to this big voice, 6'5", 220 pounds. Just what
Mhm.
I can just like was yesterday. Remember being in the backyard with it. It's just
Mhm.
and then you. It's just pushing you down that hill. Trying to teach you how to ride a bicycle, right? And but it was just wonderful to experience. And I would tell families, at the dinner table, these are the things that you talk about because you only get one shot. You,
Right.
you just take it all in. So
Right. And going into these dinners, obviously you guys didn't have a plan of the mission of the dinner as a team, but what was it? What was it? Was it a pause for you guys as adults? Was it a moment for you to just kind of breathe and just like be in your moment? Because the life of
yeah,
children is a lot different than life of adult.
yeah, it was a pause. It was
Mhm.
a pause. Sometimes you take that for granted, right? Because you're moving so fast in life, and mommy and daddy will tell you there was many times when we got to say, okay, we need to pause. Remember the
Mhm.
time I had the really bad car accident? We realized that we were just moving down the road really fast, right? And
Mhm.
just wake up and smell the roses, and slow down. We found ourselves having to do that multiple times, but the dinner table was that opportunity for her to pause, and take a time out and just really appreciate, what we have, and kind of take maybe the pressure off of what was going on during the day,
Yeah.
and kind of focus on you guys because You were coming home with your own stuff. You were learning new stuff. You were learning how to grow up. You were learning how to deal with kids. You were learning how to deal with, the classrooms, your teachers. You were growing at the same time, and it was really important for us to allow you guys to have a venue to listen to.
Yeah, a place of expression. And that's what I want people to really take away from this. This is the dinner table is not just the dinner table. I know when we're going through life, we say we go so fast, right? We're just moving. We have routines. We have work. We have school. We got to get kids to practice, et cetera, et cetera. That we forget a moment to just breathe and smell the roses, like you said. And I think
Right,
that the dinner table really is like 45 minutes to an hour of your day where you can just sit and just be a family and communicate and hear what so and so had did at art class today, or how so and so handled the meeting they had with the big board group they had that they were planning all week, and you can hear them prepping all week. So I think that this is a space that we all need even today, to just be able to just sit and just relax for a second, just breathe and enjoy the fact that you're alive and you have these people that love you around you. I think that's the most powerful thing of it all, is that you feel love, right? You're in this place where there's three or four, or how many siblings or family members you have, just love you. And that's such a powerful thing. We talked because May is mental health month. That is so helpful for these kids that maybe go to school, don't play sports, and they just haven't figured out really what their path is yet.
yeah, yeah,
So this space is kind of for them to feel like it's okay that you haven't figured it out yet, right? We're
right,
just interested to hear what you did today, because just making it through 24 hours is always a blessing, you know?
right, right,
So especially such as mental health month, that it's just so powerful for these parents that want to tune into their kids and try to figure out what they're doing. That is the place to do it. I
right.
mean, that especially the time when a mom passed away, how important was it you were observing us kind of during that time period to see how we were doing, especially with that.
It was something that was the first thing that was important to me. It's just maybe too much to a point where I found
Hmm.
myself just wanting to, 'cause you were mature enough to say, Dad, I got this. I'm okay, right? Well, I knew that at my age, at 14, 15 years, I was nowhere close to the level of maturity, emotional maturity that you were, because I was told to hold my emotions in. So I was I was closely watching and monitoring, because this was new for us. This was something very significant. So I just really tried to be present with you guys.
Right, right, and that was so great because as kids going through loss, for our viewers that watch and who have similar stories to ours, it's so important for kids to just feel like, one, their parents are paying attention, let alone listening, but also paying attention because sometimes they feel like no one understands what they're going through. And
Right, right,
it was helpful to have someone because we all had just gone through the same thing.
right,
So that place when we got to sit down as a family, and sometimes we had the TV on and sometimes we didn't. It was great to have you guys like be able to just talk through. And sometimes it was a healthy distraction.
right, right.
That's your moment. You talk on a pause. That's your moment and your healthy distraction away from
Right.
what's going
Because I know we're not psychiatrists, and we're not, we're just sharing our own experience. I know that
on.
you're a psychology major, but here's something that I read. We do in our research, and you
Right.
kind of go down the list. But what's the benefits of family dinner? Better academic performance, higher self-esteem, greater sense of resilience, lower risk of substance abuse, lower risk of teen pregnancy, lower risk of depression, lower likelihood of developing eating disorders, and then lower rates of obesity, right?
Right. And let's dive into it. First of all, better academic performance because you're now expressing, well, Devin, why did you get a B on this, and this? Well, so that's that pressure that's kind of applied during that time period in front of everybody. That's like, I don't want that pressure ever again. And obviously, higher self esteem is because you're being heard.
Right, right,
It's
right,
to express. So, of course, they're going to go back to school feeling like they're the man or they're the woman because they have positive affirmations when they come and sit at the dinner table from their family members.
Well, let me ask you this question. Both of you were excellent students. Obviously, I'm going to brag about that. You're better students than I was. But uh, better academic performance. Sitting at that table, did you feel the pressure or you feel the pride of making sure that because we made sure that we were both present when it came to your academic. When I say both, mommy and myself, because that was something that I grew up with, right, with my
Right.
mom and dad, right?
I think Devin was more pride, I was more pressure.
Okay,
That was just our characters. I've always been someone who does academics because I know I'm supposed to, and Devin has always been someone who does academics well because he loves to. And I
okay,
think that that's just something that has unfolded with us being two separate ages and two different generations. And you guys raised us two separate ways, obviously, because he's a boy and I'm a girl, and I'm older and he's younger. It was that type of thing that
okay,
all the factors that kind of tie into that. But definitely, I think that for me, I think it was a healthy pressure where I didn't even want to have the conversation if I had got a C or a B. I just wanted to be able to do a good job. And
right,
that one was the one who really enjoyed the challenge. And he was just like, yeah, I got my A. No one's shocked. I know. He was very, like, he understood that he was very smart, right? And so I think, yeah, that pressure, but I think the healthy pressure for sure helped me a lot. And I think there was
okay,
something that carried on, especially in high school when we had to balance so much. It was a healthy pressure to kind of keep us
right,
organized.
right,
It was also kind of like that. You were like, that was our time to be organized as a family. Like, check in. Like, did you do this project? What is coming up next week? Because I had a bad habit as a kid, waiting until the last minute to do my projects, and mom would have to do it. Remember, she'd have to
oh yeah,
it's 1 in the morning helping me with my project, and she'd just be huffing and puffing through the whole thing, but it would turn out wonderful. But that was when you check in on your kids. Like, so do you have a project? Do you have, where's your agenda book so if I can see it? Remember, you guys used to check our agenda books and see what we did at school, stuff like that. Just your
right,
time to kind of like check in. It's a
right.
check for sure.
Well, for me, I know mommy too. It was fun to do these projects with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I still have all these projects, but you learn so much about each other doing that. You learn that mom and dad have a level of creativity or not creativity, but that was fun.
I don't remember any projects being done with you. I remember she was the artist. So like I had a project on I was just like we had a project on a polar bear. And that was my animal that I had to learn. And I remember we had shined the PowerPoint of a polar bear on the tripod and we traced the polar bear and I had a polar bear and it was amazing. But I remember at dinner I was dreading like, oh man, my project's due tomorrow and I haven't even mentioned it. Like, well, how am I gonna tell her that we have to pull a whole new tripod on a polar bear tomorrow? Like it was that's definitely something like there was definitely a healthy pressure because you're like like you want to still do good and make you guys proud for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's see, you see, they kind of dove. So as a family now, you guys are at home. How do you think the dinner table is helping you guys mentally, especially now that COVID-19 is keeping you inside and there's so much negativity going on around the world? How has eating together, when you're forced to eat together, helped both of you in your own individual ways, you think?
It does. Anytime there's opportunity for us to connect. What I find with Devin right now during that time is a time that we kind of like. He's probably the more shows me the most expression, and it's not about something that we're having friction about, right? It's about he'll start talking about the last dance. He'll be talking about, so I can ask him a question where he doesn't feel like he's being annoyed, me being
Right.
annoyed, right? So
Right.
it's always been, and it's something that even through this time, and I have to kind of sit back and understand how I would have actually handled this,
Right.
right? This is something we as a society has never experienced, but kids who are seniors were missing out so much, and then have their own whole day to resignate, to ruminate, either positively or negatively, right?
Right.
And they're looking forward to certain things. As a parent, I have to be a lot more aware, a lot more present, right? And so I'm learning to go through this with him because he is he's very special. He's very special, but and he's also 18 years old, and he wants his independence, right? I mean, he wants to go on a trip, right? So we've been talking through that. What is that going to look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the dinner table are times that we can actually have sort of a neutral ground, maybe. It's neutral,
Right.
right?
It's less
Sort of neutral ground,
hostile. Right.
right? Not as hostile, and we can talk and now get him involved in cooking, getting him involved in actually cleaning up, right? We still have that time every
Right.
night. Every night we have it, and it's still very, very special. Because I'm not, he's gonna be gone in what, 1 or 2 months. So
Right.
for me, I'm gonna celebrate and I'm gonna cherish.
Right. And I think it's so important that you guys have those moments because there's a lot of scary things going on in the world around us. And it's hard to not turn the news on and be overwhelmed by the constant idea of death, the constant hostility. And even as black people, it's hard to see what's going on in the world around that. So it's a lot of weight coming in at you. And that's kind of what the news is. A lot of people say
Right?
turn the news off and only balance the amount of time you spend on the news because it's a lot of weight to take in, and especially during this time of pandemic when it seems like there really isn't any light at the end of the tunnel. We have no answers yet. So it's scary. So I think that the fact that now people are forced to have their family dinners again and they're forced to sit down and reconnect and have these moments where they cook together and they spend time together. I think that's so special that that's kind of coming in and out. But
Mhm.
also, talk about cooking. What are you guys eating?
We actually eat very good, because I, we do salmon, we do the pork roast, we do steaks. I still have my grill, my Weber grill. We still do vegetables, and he takes his protein drink and he keeps his weight up. And then,
Right.
one time we do binge over the weekend, I mean, we had some banana bread and we had cookies. And then, with me, I have and everybody who knows me, I always find my way to Portillo's once in a while with chocolate cake. So, I reward myself. But he's actually a better, said, I don't want that. But
Right.
I did go in his room over the weekend. I saw a stack of 8 cookies on his nightstand. So
He's a Suggs, so that's normal. Well, would you say, in our own experience, this is something that touched on me before the show. We touched on a little bit is what are we eating when we are sitting together,
yeah,
and we're trying to all stay healthy and try to, especially now that he's about to go to school, we want to try to bulk him up, but also keep him healthy
right.
and not overweight. And so, the thing about the dinner table is you eat healthier, right? Like it's a place where you like don't eat French fries and you don't eat McDonald's all the time. So I have a video. I know we'll touch on it right now. Let's see. Here's a video. Allow. And there we go. So let's watch this.
Hey, do you ever remember your mom telling you, turn off the TV and come to dinner? Turns out, when it comes to healthy meal habits, mom was onto something. We take a look at the importance of how a family eats in today's Living a Better Life. It's breakfast time at Kirby's Coney Island in Southfield, and we caught up with single mom Alexis Leverett of Detroit.
If it wasn't for my daughter, I'm going to be honest, my eating choices would be a lot worse.
Leverett had just dropped off 4-year-old Kamaya at school. As for their mealtime habits at home, do you eat at a table, coffee table, sitting in a chair?
Typically, it's just a dining room table.
How do you think it affects the way you eat or how you eat?
It just makes you have better decisions on the consumption and also just the calories.
That experience
Yeah.
echoes a study recently done by some University of Michigan School of Public Health researchers. They looked at data from nearly 300 children in Southeast Michigan to see how mealtime behaviors may impact the healthfulness of their meals. 4 main characteristics of the meals were studied: if the parent was participating in the meal, whether the TV was on or off, if the meal was served family style, and if the meal was eaten at the table. Results showed when participants turned off the TV, sat at the table, and ate family style, the foods they ate were typically healthier.
Sitting down at the table, being more mindful of the meal, having parent involvement in the meal and not having the kids kind of fend for themselves would naturally likely improve the quality of the meal.
Ryanne Latchman is a registered dietitian with the Cleveland Clinic who did not take part in the study. She says turning off electronics allows us to be more mindful, chew our food, and make it easier to notice when we're full. She says the study shows when it comes to eating healthy as a family, it's important to not only disconnect from electronics, but also to reconnect with the family.
Family style or fend for yourself? Family style.
TV on or off?
Mostly off.
We sat down at the table every meal.
I eat better when I'm with other people
Why is that?
because I feel more comfortable not alone.
Bottom line, some simple behaviors can help set us up for success. And
Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
So one thing while watching that, obviously, when you sit down and pause, you're a lot more aware of what's in front of you. So you eat better, you cook better, you take care of your family better, you remember what goes into your body. So I'm glad we got to share that with people. But before we dive out of here and prep for Friday, I want to talk about one thing, because as a family, me, you, Devin, Mom, we ate healthy. We had meatloaf, we had shrimp scampi, we had lasagna. We had all different types of things going on that were healthy. But also one thing that was really important to me in my memory, and you've never heard this story, so I wanted to bring it up. So to me, the dinner table for us was constantly either in the house, but also sometimes would be on the move. And I remember as young kids, Mom used to spend time with us where we would go pick up McDonald's after work, after school, and we would go to a park and sit in the trunk and eat. And that was our dinner table at that moment. That was our way to kind of get out and change up the scenery a little bit. And it was so much fun for us because sometimes it would be one-on-one, or it would be her and both me and Devin. But that was time for us to kind of get our personal time in, with also just being different and kind of switching things up and kind of having more fun with McDonald's, when they still had, Happy Meals with the toy, like all the fun stuff. And we used to go to the parks and stuff like that. And she probably was doing research, now that I think about it. But it was definitely a place, and that's why I wanted to bring up the dinner table. It doesn't always have to be structurally always with you. It's okay to mix it up and sometimes move the table where you go and kind of change it and have a picnic and spend time together where these kids can make memories and remember that what you do, because you have a lot of power as parents to kind of,
Yeah.
be part of our lives. For sure.
Say hello to Greg. Greg.
Hey, Greg.
How you doing, Greg? college friend who's watching, one of our great listeners. Appreciate you. But yeah, you did share that with. That's nice that you. And I do remember Mom doing that with you guys. And, it can be mobile. You can still accomplish some of the same opportunities to listen and embrace each other. So thanks for sharing that, Faith. I appreciate it.
But I think today was great, and end of the day, and for our viewers out there who are tuning in here and there, the dinner table as a family, sitting down together, not only is healthy and beneficial for the kids, takes care of them, teaches them great. It's great for kids' development, especially as Mental Health Awareness Month. So tapping in on your kids' thoughts, letting them feel heard, a place of expression for kids and parents, right? And it's a place for people to feel love. So thank you again for everyone joining us on this wonderful Wednesday morning hump day. It was really, really, really great show. I hope everyone took something out there and is able to share with those they love. As families in this time, it's time to form your own traditions. Take time while you're at home and sit together and maybe throw a hat on a rail. So again, we want to thank you to our stream platforms, Amazon Fire, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, and most importantly, at our key platform out of Phoenix, Arizona, E360 TV. We'll be back on Friday with a really fun topic. So again, this is Faith Family Focus, where we want to use our faith as a vehicle to help heal and sustain others on their path to strengthening the faith in the core. We'll see you guys Friday. Everybody have a great day.
Great day.